We are now on the last page of the 4.2 notes. So this is just one example, but it is a lengthy one. So this one we're going to start from the beginning. We're not given the quota, so we're going to kind of work this problem start to finish. So we're given that Happy Rivers County consists of 3 towns. We have Dunes, Smithville, and Johnstown. Each year the social workers employed by the county are apportioned among the 3 towns based on the number of cases in each town over the previous year. So the number of cases in each town in 2016 is shown below. All right, so this is the number of cases that the social workers had in the previous year. So first thing we could do is go ahead and add those together. So 41, 106, and 253, just to get our total number of cases. So our total cases is 400. This is going to take us back to section 4.1. So remember, the standard divisor is total population divided by number of seats. So remember, the seats are what we're trying to split up. In this case, we're trying to split up the social workers to see who should go to each county. So that's going to be our number of seats. And then our total population will be total number of cases, which will be 400. All right, so if I take 400 and divide it by 24, that doesn't come out really pretty. It comes out 16.6 repeating. So I'm just going to go ahead and round that to 2 decimal places. All right, so now we want to get our standard quota. So again, we got to go back to 4.1. Remember, the quota of A will be the population of A divided by the standard divisor. So for Dunes, they're first. We're going to do 41 divided by our standard divisor of 16.67. So if we put that in the calculator, 67, that comes out 2.459. If I round it to 2 decimal places, that 5 has to round up to a 6. So that's going to be 2.46. If I do the same for Smithsville, I'm doing A, B, and C just because that's the way we're used to doing them. So it's going to be the population of B divided by the standard divisor. So the second county had 106 cases, and I'm still dividing by the 16.67. So 106 divided by 16.67, that's going to come out 6.36. I'm going to round that 5 up. And then finally, our last one, we'll call this C. The population of C divided by the standard divisor, that's going to be 253 divided by 16.67. Okay, so that one I'm also going to round up. So it's going to be 15.18. Now, if I add all that together, I'm supposed to get the number of social workers. Now sometimes you'll get an addition error. This one actually came out fine. If you get something like 24.01, that's a rounding error. It's not really a big deal. All right, so we've got our quota. So now remember, for Hamilton's method, we're going to split. We're going to take the whole number part and the decimal part, and we're going to split these up. All right, so if we go ahead and add these numbers together, that comes out to be 23. So that's 23 of our social workers, which means we only have 1 extra. So if we look at the one that has the biggest decimal part, they're going to get the extra social worker. Okay, so they're going to be first. So they're going to bump from 2 to 3. Smithville is going to stay at 6. Johnstown is going to stay at 15, and that's going to add up to be the 24 social workers. All right, so this apportions out the social workers for that year. Now suppose after we do this, someone comes along and says, hey, you get to hire an extra social worker. So instead of 24, we're going to bump you up to 25. So to do this properly, you would have to do the whole thing over again. So now when you do standard divisor, instead of 400 divided by 24, it's going to be 400 divided by 25. So the standard divisor will be 400 divided by 25, and this comes out a nice even 16. So that's our standard divisor. Notice our cases haven't changed, so they're still at 400. So now we've got to get our quota again. Okay, so for the first quota, instead of 41 divided by 16.67, it's going to be 41 divided by 16. Okay, so 41 divided by 16, I get 2.5625, so that'll be 2.56. For the next one, instead of 106 divided by 16.67, it'll be 106 divided by 16. And that comes out 6.625, so I'm going to round that to 6.63. And then finally, we're going to take 253, divide it by the standard divisor, and that one comes out to be, I didn't do that right, hang on, helps if you type the right numbers. 15.812, so I'm going to round that to 15.81. Now if you add all those together, you should get 25 because there are now 25 social workers. All right, so let's do our Hamilton method and start splitting this up. Now notice these are the same as the previous problem, so when we add them up, we're going to have 23. And so we did have 25, that means we have 2 surplus to give away. So we find our 2 biggest. So 0.81 goes first, 0.63 goes second, and then the last one does not get another social worker. So Doon stays at 2, Smithville bumps up to 7, Johnstown bumps up to 16. And if you add those together, you get a total of 25. Now notice this is kind of curious the way this works, because in the first problem there was 1 extra social worker and it went to Doon's. But when we added a social worker, they actually ended up with less and the other 2 ended up with more. And that's because Doon's is the smallest, and the smaller populations are unfairly treated with Hamilton's method. So this does tend to happen sometimes, where it seems unfair the way the apportionment works out.